Hi, Adrian here, NLP trainer and coach. This video that you're about to watch is filmed in a live Zoom class. We have expatriates based all around the world, and we do these classes and we share a little bit with you because we think it's important that you get to see what goes on behind closed doors and how some of these processes really work. I hope you enjoy. Make sure you click the subscribe button and we'll see you at the end.
Timeline, where we picture our past. I don't know how much experience you have that, but when you are picturing your past, thinking about an event in the past or what it was like to be a child, where do you see that? And it could be on your left, your right, behind you. I was speaking to a colleague of mine from Jordan, from the Islamic world. And I was asked her last night, where do they put their memories? And many of them put them to their right. And it's like, oh, isn't it interesting? Because in the Islamic world, they read from right to left. And in the Western world, predominantly, people will put their store their memories to the left-hand side. And so in the timeline, we've got a metaphor, but it's really more than a metaphor because we are living that. And it is a kind of obvious. When I first came across it, I just thought this is obvious stuff. This is obvious, but it's bringing out and bringing attention to that obvious, the nature of how we store our memories. And with all those memories, we have an attachment. So there's that emotion is attached to it. So for example, there's many ways to store our memories, but just to give an example of one type of ways is which we've talked about, it's a true time person. So looking true time, they have all their memories stored out on their line. Their timeline is out in front of them. And with that, they have all their emotions attached to it. So we'll introduce the idea of a gestalt later, and I'm jumping way beyond here, but in terms of the timeline being about how it is that we experience, we have an experience, and then we get an emotion to it. And that emotion is not just from that one experience. It is from the connection of what was it linked to the past experience, to the previous experience, and a previous experience to that, and a previous experience to that, a previous experience to that, all the way to the very end, to the very starting point of when we first got that one emotion came. That anger came to the very first time that anger came to us. Before we knew what anger was, that came at that very first time, and then has been connected through a series of linked events. This is the gestalt from all those things and events, and it's just building, increasing and increasing. And now I'm really curious to know, because what timeline therapy was developed in the 80s through NLP by Tad James. And what it's using movies and books as the metaphor for how we access our memories. So left to right is the way that came to us through books, through reading. Before we had books or reading, all our memories, all our things were all over the place. But we've become more constructed by our society, by books, and now through media, through movies. But in a way that you're going to use this to be able to access your clients' memories and to get to their memories. Because right, in traditional psychology, you'll go in and your client has got this problem and an experience that comes up with one of the traditional ones of fear, anger, shame, guilt. And you'll go and analyze this one event, and you'll go and talk about it and look at it from different angles, but you're always looking at just one event. But that one event is linked to the past event and a previous event, a previous event, a previous event, and it's been building and building and building. And your client has become really good at that emotion because it's strengthening over time as that emotion is getting strengthened from each subsequent part. It's just getting increasing. And what we're showing is it is a metaphor. It is not just a metaphor. It is actual the way people have their strategies and how they interact with that. So it's you're becoming curious to find out about how it is that your client and how it is that you are accessing your memories. Because I was researching this last night and I was realizing we focus on the past all the time, going into the past, but also the future, how it is when you start to look and just thinking now about how you picture the future and thinking of an event in the next week or month or like in a year's time. And I had realized that how much that had changed in the past 18 months because of all this, because of the pandemic and all the stuff that has been brought in, and how the future also has changed because of that. And that will need a lot of work as well as going back into the past to go and look at those parts of the past that just needs to be looked at more and more. So it's like it's a way of really getting quick change with clients. But the most important part I find as a coach is really believing that. And that is from that, to believe it, you just get more and more experience in it. To believe this and know that it's not a metaphor. We're not doing like I do drama and acting. And when you set up this thing of being able to get your client to access their memories and then to walk back into the past and really believing that it's not about belief, it's that knowingness that comes when they come and they feel that emotion. And when they're feeling that emotion, they're really there. And going back, the most important is to go back to that first part, the first time that they access the emotion at the very beginning. That being finding that first moment, that because we've all had, what was the first moment when we took our first breath, or the first moment we laughed. We can't remember those moments, but the idea behind NLP is that we have all those stored in our unconscious. The precondition, the presupposition behind NLP is that we have all of it stored in our unconscious, and we are allowing our unconscious to lead us. The logical mind here is not in control. So when you start to guide your client back into the past, and it could be into a past, it could be in a past life or whatever that is, it's about allowing the unconscious lead and becoming very curious to what the client is going to give you. So that's just a very convoluted, brief, and we're going to go much more detailed, step by step, the way Adrian does, that we will really start to understand this, because I've had this for a few years and I'm still understanding it, because it's the most beautiful thing starts when you actually allow the client lead you. And if the client, even when the client can't see exactly what it is when they go back to that very first time when they had that first moment of anger or first moment of fear or shame. They might not be able to actually even see that. And that's absolutely okay. It's to feel it, and even introducing the idea that of this to them is it's it's allowing them to be able to learn this themselves, because you might introduce the model and do it a few sessions with them, but the idea isn't that they come back for it all the time. It's like that they learn this. And I was watching The Matrix for the first time the other week, and for the second time. And the first time I watched it when I was 18, and now I watched it years later, and I realized I get so much more from it. And so when we're going back into the past, it's the learning, it's the new ways that we can look at that very first situation that happened and see how would the client, how would you have done things differently, knowing what you know now. And all of that is about collapsing that emotion that has been building up over and over again and is getting stronger and stronger. And the clients are going to come to you, and they're coming to you because it's building to such an extent that they're either going to do something really bad, or they're coming to you because it's just got to an extent that this emotion is just, whatever it is, it's just building so much, it's become intolerable, and they don't want to live with it anymore. And with that, this timeline works so quickly.
Boom! You made it here! Good on you. Make sure you click the subscribe button below and check out the playlist at the end. If you'd like to come along to our Sunday sessions where we host a live free Q&A for our students and members, you're welcome. I'll see you there.